What I found is that things always do work out for the best. They truly do always work out for the best. If you pray, if you trust in God's plan, if you trust that God has if you trust that God has your best interests at heart, because God truly does want the best for you, I promise that everything will always work out for the best. No matter how bad it may seem now, no matter how deep of a hole you may seem in now, I promise that if you trust in God, it will all work out for the best, even if it feels like that there's no end in sight, that there's no light at the end of the tunnel. Because for me as well, I tend to be an overthinker sometimes too. Like, I do my best to embody the philosophy of stoicism in everything I do in my life, but it is tough because I do tend to overthink a lot of things, place various scenarios in my head about what if this happens, what if that happens, what if this happens, but it really is toxic, and overthinking doesn't do me any benefit. I realize that. And the way I do my best to combat it is I always talk to myself positively. I always give myself positive self-talk. I always tell myself everything will work out for the best. God is the best of planners. God has your absolute best interests at heart, and what God has planned for you is better than what you could ever imagine. And I constantly remind myself that. And if you're in a similar situation, if you tend to be an overthinker, talk to yourself positively. Remind yourself that God is always there with you, no matter how big of a mistake you made, no matter how deep of a hole you may seem to be in now. Just know that God is always by your side, and God is always guiding you. Always, God is always by your side. And what God has planned for you is better than what you could ever imagine. I know that we always overthink as humans. We always tend to think, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if this happens? And then I'll be out of a job, and then the world's going to end. I do it as well, and I do my best to stop by mitigating it, by having positive self-talk with myself, by telling myself overthinking doesn't do me any benefit. It only causes you stress and anxiety. I understand. So just know, always remind yourself that God is with you. God has your absolute best interests at heart. God is always guiding you in the right direction. Always trust the process. Always be grateful for everything God is giving you every single day. And just know that everything always works out for the best. I promise.